Wow, man, the Cleveland media. Man, you can't have it both ways, man. Anything but Shedeur. Now y'all trying to get a brand new fancy car in by way of the Green Bay Packers and Malik Willis. Y'all talking about bring veterans in. Is Malik Willis really a veteran? 5 years in the league, going on 5 years in the league. Is he really a veteran? Is he really the guy that y'all think's going to take the Cleveland Browns over the hump? See, what y'all do is anything but Shedeur Sanders. You are now tuned into a brand new episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K. Sapp. Well, today, man, we got to talk about it, man. This Cleveland media, man, they want anybody but Shedeur. And we got to talk about it right after this.
Let me put you on game. These other podcasts out here talking that shit, but ain't repping the same. It's my bro K-Sapp, chopping up topics for your optics. From politics to your top picks. Tune in, you gotta watch this. Exclusive material for your radio stereo, pumping high definition. Stop what you doing and listen. We smashing all competition. You better jump on this wave. Somebody pass me a mic, man. I got something to say.
Well, guys, you know I got something to say, man. Man, what is it with this Cleveland media? What is it with the Cleveland insiders, man? They want anybody but Shedeur Sanders. They want anybody but Shedeur Sanders. Now, going into 2026, you know, Cleveland Browns got a new head coach in Todd Monken. And, you know, Todd Monken recently stated about the quarterback traits and the it factor and things like that. Basically, he was describing Shedeur Sanders. And that is the type of person that you want as your quarterback, the leader of the team, and what the team will gravitate to. Now, a lot of people like Shedeur Sanders in that Cleveland Browns organization, but what the Cleveland media is trying to do is they trying to make this a quarterback competition. Now, they didn't want to make it a quarterback competition last year. The Cleveland media did not want to make it a quarterback competition last year when it came to the likes of Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Shedeur Sanders. They was just hell-bent on just giving Joe Flacco the keys, and then if Joe Flacco wasn't going to pan out, they just wanted to give Dylan Gabriel the keys. They didn't make it a quarterback competition last year. So going into 2026, and we saw what Shedeur Sanders did in the last 7 games, and a lot of people, you know, say Shedeur Sanders did some great things, and there's a lot of Cleveland insiders that just be hating and say he was downright awful. And they want to see another quarterback come in besides Shedeur Sanders to take over the reins in 2026. And they wanted this to be a quarterback competition. They don't think that Shedeur Sanders should be handed the keys after what he did in the end of 2025 in the last 7 games. And the crazy thing about it is in the last 7 games, Shedeur Sanders was 3-4 in the last 7 games. And a lot of people think Shedeur Sanders earned the right to be QB1 going into 2026 under this new system and the new head coach of Todd Monken. Now, Todd Monken was the offensive coordinator at the University of Georgia, and you saw what Todd Monken did for the likes of Stetson Bennett. You know, he's a 2-time national champion. And then at the same time, when Shedeur Sanders was coming out of high school, you know, Todd Monken and the Georgia Bulldogs was recruiting Shedeur Sanders. And then what happened is Todd Monken took a job as the offensive coordinator in the NFL with the Baltimore Ravens. And you heard Todd Monken in 2025, they wanted to draft Shedeur Sanders. Now it comes full circle that Todd Monken is the new head coach for the Cleveland Browns. And now Shedeur Sanders is your quarterback. Now everybody wants to spin the narrative talking about they need to bring in a veteran quarterback. Now they do have a veteran in Deshaun Watson, but we know Deshaun Watson ain't got a lot left in his tank from what we saw of his last hoorah before he went down with the bad Achilles injury. But he's on the road to recovery. He has showed signs, and now everybody is saying that Deshaun Watson might challenge Shedeur Sanders for quarterback 1. And then if that don't work out, they throwing names out there such as Malik Willis. Now, Malik Willis was drafted by the Tennessee Titans, right? And he really never got a fair shake. He never got his chance, and he just been relegated to a backup quarterback. Now, Malik Willis last year in 2025, he played the last 4 games for the Green Bay Packers. Now he played against the New York Giants. He played against the Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears, and the Baltimore Ravens. Out of the last four games that, Malik Willis did play, he was 2-2. He got a win against the New York Giants. He got a win against the Minnesota Vikings. He lost to the Chicago Bears and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, in that game against the, New York Giants, Malik Willis, he came in and he had 2 completions for 6 yards. You know what I'm saying? He had 1 touchdown. So he did what he had to do. And then against Minnesota, he came in and he played. He was 1-on-1 for 7 yards. And then you saw when he played against the Chicago Bears, he was 9 of 11 for 121 yards and 1 TD. And then also when he played against the Baltimore Ravens, he was 8 of 21 for 288 yards with 1 touchdown. And for the last, games that we saw Malik Willis play in 2025, he ended up with 423 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, with a QBR of 93.1. But then you go look at the Cleveland media, they really advocating for Malik Willis. Is Malik Willis really a veteran quarterback that can come in and put pressure on Shedeur Sanders? I don't think so. And if you think that Malik Willis is a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders, you just don't like nothing about Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders head and shoulders above Malik Willis, just like we told y'all, and I've told y'all that Shedeur Sanders was head and shoulders above Dillon Gabriel. Regardless if you don't like Shedeur Sanders or not, but as a quarterback, he is head and shoulders above Dillon Gabriel, and he's head and shoulders above Malik Willis. Shedeur Sanders is your best option as QB1 for the Cleveland Browns. I don't care what the Cleveland insiders say. I don't care what Jason Lloyd says. I don't care what, Jay Crawford says. I don't care what Anthony Lima says. I don't care what Bull says. Shedeur Sanders is your quarterback 1 for 2026. He is the best option for the Cleveland Browns to jumpstart this season when it comes to 2026. You don't need to go in the draft, look in the draft for quarterback. You need to get other skill position players. You need to upgrade your wide receiver core, and you need to upgrade your offensive line because you got a defense that is solid. You can build around that defense and Myles Garrett and Carson Schwarzenegger. You can build around all of them, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit. You can build around all them skill players defensively. Now you need to upgrade your offense, and you got the quarterback that you can build around offensively if you just give him an offensive line. Shedeur Sanders is going to have the whole offseason to work with, the number ones and the OTAs, the training camp and everything. But as far as I'm concerned, Shedeur Sanders has a leg up of being quarterback 1 for 2026. There's no other quarterbacks that you can bring in that can compete with Shedeur Sanders on that level. Malik Willis will be a solid backup if they go that route and bring in Malik Willis in. But at this time, Shedeur Sanders is the best option. So I don't care how the Cleveland media and the Cleveland insiders try to spin it. But we all know what Todd Monken wants. He just ain't come out and say it, right in your face and say, yeah, Shedeur Sanders is our quarterback 1. He is leaving that option open because if it's going to be a quarterback competition, just like Denzel Ward said, it's for Shedeur to go out there and take. It's his to lose. And I don't think Shedeur Sanders will lose any battles like that because Shedeur Sanders is built for it. Shedeur Sanders is the Cleveland Browns quarterback of the future, regardless how you slice it or dice it. But give this young man an opportunity. And you heard what our man Tony Rizzo said. Shedeur Sanders will go 11-6 as a Cleveland Browns starter, and he's putting it out there in the stratosphere. So if you want to get behind that wave, you better get behind it now. Because like I've always said, and like Shedeur said, Shedeur Sanders loves and supports his supporters the way his supporters has his back. And we're not no caught people. We not no Shedeurians, man. We just talking football. We just giving you the facts. Shedeur Sanders is the best opportunity for the Cleveland Browns right now if they want to turn the corner and make them a formidable team in the near future. And it starts with Shedeur Sanders. Give Shedeur Sanders the keys. He's the best option. So all this other talk about all these other quarterbacks that you want to bring in some veterans. I even heard the likes of Kirk Cousins. That's not going to pan out. Malik Willis, he's really not even a veteran because he ain't seen that much playing time in his 4 to 5 years that he's been in NFL. So you can't call him a veteran quarterback that can come in and upseed Shedeur Sanders as quarterback one. I don't think that can happen. But you guys get down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Do you think Malik Willis can challenge Shedeur Sanders for that quarterback one position in Cleveland? I see everybody in the comment section. #salute. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Oh, yeah, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. This is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. Catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.